So the CMA has decided to finally rustle the trees leaves and release information in a 10-page document as to why they're going the route they're going and what they're doing, and basically outlining the process forward and what it means and how soon this can actually be resolved or whether it's not going to be resolved. The CMA is still kind of playing coy in the sense that they kind of still are trying to show that, hey, look, we still hold the key to this. We are still the ones in control. If we don't want this to happen, it won't happen. And they kind of have that coy attitude going forward. The document itself really didn't make much sense. A lot of it we already knew. And the other part of it just basically tried to show that they had power over Microsoft. Now, that's the way I interpreted it anyway, and that's my opinion. Now, the way the things are going at the moment, it looks like the document was completed on July the 20th. It's only just been made public. Now, on August the 7th, they're apparently going to send out a request for 7 days for people to actually come back with feedback. Now, they've already done that originally, and they've got that feedback. Now they're sending out a public appeal for information. Again, I mean, at this point, I don't understand why they're requiring to do this. It's almost like they're looking for reasons to just, find something there that isn't there, essentially. But that is where they are right now. Now, obviously, Microsoft's document that they supplied the CMA, which they supplied some time ago, which was a 20-page document, basically outlined reasons as to why this decision that they made on April the 26th is no longer valid and should be reconsidered. There's multiple reasons as to why this should be the case, including the fact that the European Commission has already approved the deal with remedies that the CMA was not privy to when they came out first with their bullish way and decided to block the deal because they wanted to be the first. Secondly, the FTC has lost as well. Thirdly, Sony has already signed the deal, which, sends the majority of their claim out the water. And finally, the cloud gaming argument where Microsoft would own 70% of the cloud market has already been debunked based on the fact that the CMA doesn't know how to do basic maths. They clearly realized their mistake and backtracked that 70%, which now means that the original final report that they actually issued, which wasn't the final report because it hasn't officially been certified yet, but the original final report that they actually pushed out, which is a preliminary report, is basically bogus. It's filled with so many loopholes and so much misinformation that the decision shouldn't count, and this should give rise to a restructuring of the deal or special considerations as to what, or special reasons as they put it, as to why this deal should be renegotiated and that decision should be nullified, and that they should actually go forward and actually provide a new decision. Now, based on the information that they've provided in the document, it does look like there is a good chance by the end of this week they will supply a preliminary verdict based on the information they have, and then probably a week later actually provide their final verdict. Now, as it stands right now, there's really no reason to actually block this deal. Even the cloud gaming aspect of the deal, based on the fact that the CMA doesn't know how to do basic maths, clearly shows that even the cloud gaming side of things is not a problem. It is basically, Microsoft has a very small share in the cloud gaming industry. They're losing money through cloud gaming. GeForce Now and other companies clearly have a much bigger share than they do. And let's be realistic here, GeForce Now, in my opinion, is pretty much the market leader when it comes to cloud gaming. Now, obviously, the worry is that Microsoft could eventually, at some point after 10 years, turn around and say, hey, everyone, guess what? My 10 years is up. Activision, Blizzard, Microsoft games are all coming off cloud gaming competitors. It's all mine. And now we're going to release a cloud-only version of the console, or whatever it is, a subscription, and it's going to be our platform, and you can only play these games on those platforms. I guess that is ultimately what the CMA is worried about. It is something Microsoft can do, and there's absolutely no reason why they can't do that. This doesn't mean that the games will be off PlayStation. This doesn't mean that these games will be off Nintendo. It just means that when it comes to the cloud sphere, they will control it. But as of right now, we're not playing Minority Report. We also saw how Minority Report ended. If you haven't seen that film, you probably should, because that's pretty much how the CMA is right now. They're trying to use an algorithm to predict the future, and it doesn't work. And as we saw in the Minority Report movie, well, in the end it collapsed because people were being arrested for things they hadn't done. The computer was basically coming up with a prediction that this is basically happening right now, and these are the possible outcomes that could happen from it. They could either walk away or end up killing the person. And in the end, it would arrest the person before they did anything to try and prevent future harm. But there's no guarantee that that person would have done anything. And in the same kind of analogy, there's no guarantee Microsoft will do this. So to try and punish them for something that may or may not happen in the end is not legal. They can't do that, and they shouldn't do that. And there's no justification for them to do that. So this deal should realistically go through without a hitch, but the CMA is basically dragging this on as much as they can. Now, August 29th is still the set date that the CMA has provided. Now, if they turn around and say that there hasn't been any real change to the structure and they still believe that the original dates are still the same, then the divestiture then eventually will now come into play, and that could actually delay things a lot more. Obviously, this is something Microsoft wants to avoid like the plague, because then they will be fined a lot when it comes to Activision Blizzard, and they will lose a lot of money, and this is something that they want to avoid. But even in the case of the divestiture, my hope is that if it does come to that, which it absolutely honestly shouldn't at this point, because even the cloud gaming side has been overruled, even if it does come to that, that could be dealt in the background while the deal goes through. There's nothing stopping the deal from going through. The CMA is essentially just being annoying at this point. You know, like those annoying flies that fly around you that just won't go away until you splat them with a fly swatter? That's pretty much what the CMA has become. But if you've made it this far, you clearly are interested in what I'm doing, what I'm reporting on, or just enjoying my content. Do consider leaving a like, subscribe, and hit that bell to stay up to date with all content I release. I do gaming news, CMA news, and of course, I will be doing reviews as and when I get the opportunity. Back to the video. So what I want to do now is quickly go over to Twitter, because Florian has released a couple of tweets. I have read the document myself, but I think he summarizes it up really, really well. So let's go check that out. So as you can see here, the CAT Tribunal just released a public redacted version of a testimony by the CMA's Interim General Counsel regarding the joint motion to stay the UK appeal. The document is dated 20th July 2023, 11 days older than the recent CMA notice. It confirms what was in a recent media report. The CMA's goal is to publish new provisional views this week. Therefore, there will be another 7-day comment period. Under oath, the official confirms that the FTC's failure in court was not key to the request for a stay. Now, this part actually really annoys me. It actually almost triggers me, because the CMA fully well know that the only reason that they've decided to change their tune, change their views, and actually seek to discuss anything is because the FTC lost. If the FTC didn't lose, and if Judge Corley actually didn't rule in Microsoft's favor, the reality is the CMA would have stayed its course and pushed forward and said, right, we are not changing our view. This deal is getting blocked, because at that point they would have had the FTC's backing as well. But with the European Commission basically going against the UK and the FTC basically losing in court, and now the FTC is pro the merger. Well, even though they're not pro-merger, they're not going to block it. They're not going to go against it. They're basically letting it go through. The CMA stands on its own. Now, for a little while, the CMA relied on New Zealand to basically block the deal. And obviously, New Zealand has, as we know, approved the deal. So in that regard, now the CMA basically only has Australia. Canada did make a bit of a fuss, and that was always going to happen. But they took so long to get their decision through that the actual decision was so late, it's no longer counted. So Canada's out the way as well. That literally just leaves Australia left with the UK. And it's assumed that they're going to actually approve the deal as well. So that literally leaves the UK as the only country in the world to be making a fuss. And they know this. And now they're pigeonholed into a corner and are basically trying to come up with a solution where they don't look absolutely retardedly stupid and retardedly weak. I'm using that word because, like you all, I'm also sick of the CMA's attitude and their desire to try and turn something around on the floor. They just can't admit that they were wrong. The information that's there now is actually, relevant information. It changes the decision. The simple fact that Sony has agreed to the overall, to sign the contract clearly shows that this has changed the course of where it's at. It's that simple. And the fact that they can't do basic maths clearly shows that they need to get new people into the CMA who actually know what they're talking about. This whole block decision is just bogus. But we are where we are. That said, the important development from the US court proceedings may be taken into consideration now. That was the third part of Microsoft's most recent submission. Because it's important. The third part being that, the FTC lost, Sony has signed, and publishers like GeForce Now have said that, this is good for them, good for gaming, good for the consumers. Google have confirmed that the market definition of cloud gaming being separate is definitely not what the FTC was saying or the CMA is saying, because they said that their direct competitors with Google Stadia was PC and consoles, which means that it's the same market. So a lot of this just goes out the window. For those who need more details, he did Twitter Space, which I did listen to as well, which is why this video has been delayed a little bit, plus I was streaming as well over at my other channel, over at Twitch. But I do want to give a shout out to Matthew Vossman, who did tag me to alert me of the CMA document. So thank you very much, dude. I really appreciate it. I had a very busy day today, and I did actually miss this. So if you do see, if you do see stuff, please do tag me. I do get it, and I do appreciate it. And I do want to show my appreciation in the videos. So thank you very much, Matthew Vossman. You're a lifesaver. But as it stands right now, there's no reason why this deal shouldn't go through outside of the fact that the CMA is delaying it. And in my opinion, there's one thing that the CMA is trying to do, which I really hope they're not, because that would just be really, really just sad. So as we know, Gamescom is coming up on the 23rd, 24th. Microsoft's big thing right now is to be able to go to Gamescom, where they're going to do their showcases for Starfield and everything else, and make an announcement that Activision Blizzard games are now on Game Pass. That is what they want to do. They want to make that announcement at Game Pass. It's going to be huge. I genuinely believe that the CMA is trying to prevent that announcement from happening by having that gotcha moment. That is what I'm seeing here, and I really hope that's not the case, because it's really childish, because at this point it's console warring all over again on a much bigger political stage. Let's not forget, was it from the CMA or the European Commission when they said, what does this mean for my PlayStation? Yeah, that was actually said, and that person that was actually dealing with that, we've never seen them again. Ever. They've not made a single comment after, not a representation, nothing. Whether they're fired or not, I don't even know. But as of right now, that's where we are. We should get some information by the end of the week. At the very latest, the following week. We should get a preliminary view this week to give us a rough indication of where we're at and where we're going. and what the CMA actually wants to do. It's possible that they'll just end up saying, right, this deal is going to go through, or it's possible they're going to turn around and say, despite the fact that we got the maths wrong with cloud gaming, despite the fact that Sony have decided that they're going to sign the document and basically push our console harm theory out the window, despite the fact that we have no legal grounds to block this deal, and everything that's been put in front of us right now, including the US decision, is a material change in circumstances for the case, we are still not going to see this as a material change and block it. There is still that. And in that situation, I really do hope that Microsoft just decides to step over the CMA and the UK and just close the deal anyway. At this point, I think they should do that. If the CMA decides to go down that route, I think they should do that because they stand to lose a lot of money. And then they just need to be careful with what they do with the UK. But the UK consumers, like myself, will suffer. But at the end of the day, that's the UK being an arse, not anyone else. Of course, the alternative to this is them turning around and saying, right, all of this is fine, but we still want cloud gaming away from you. We want that just so we can show our power. And in that situation, Microsoft's already ready to divest. Now, the CMA will then have two choices. Number one, they can turn around and say, right, while we're divesting this and dealing with this and setting up a new thing, you can go ahead and close, with the understanding that this is happening and it's all going to be in writing. The alternative is that they're going to say, nope, until this is done, this could take months, you're not closing. And in which case, Microsoft, again, in my opinion, should turn around and say, right, if you want to be this sort of a person, I'm done, and I'm just going to close the deal. So no matter which way we go, that's pretty much where we're at right now. Hopefully by the end of the week, we'll have some more news. And when we do, I'll definitely update you with that information. So that's it. The deal should be going through. There's no reason for it not to go through. I know I got a bit heated in this video, but at the end of the day, the CMA is now dragging this on so much. And it's great for me because I get content, but at the same time, I know all of you are tired. I'm tired of the CMA's antics. It's not like we're getting any new information. The simple fact is, the information that's already publicly available, even Judge Marcus Smith has said, the easiest solution right now is for the CMA to pass the merger and close the deal. With Sony agreeing and signing the contract, there is no case. With the maths being wrong for cloud gaming, there is no case. With the cloud market definition being completely thrown out of the water, just thrown out completely, there is no case. The CMA has no case. And Marcus, Smith, the judge, he openly told the CMA this. You have no case. He told them in plain English, no matter what you do or how your restructuring goes, this deal will close because you have no... If the CMA decides that it's going to turn around and block it, Microsoft will appeal. And when it goes to the CAT tribunal, they're just going to say, right, we're going to close the deal. And then the CMA is going to look like a complete twat. If that's what they actually want, sure. But why? It doesn't make sense. At least not to me. If it makes sense to you, let me know in the comment section below. And while you're doing that, don't forget to click on that like button if you enjoyed this video, hit that subscribe, hit that bell to stay up to date with all content I release. It really does help with the YouTube algorithm. It really does help get me new viewers and subscribers to the channel. YouTube does recommend this content when we engage with it. So thanks so much for your continued support. We're almost at 3,000 subs. I'll see you in the next one. Remain legend.